Okay, let's move to the pass-happy showdown. We think it might be that between the Redskins and Raiders. Washington, the home team, they got its first victory on Sunday, much to my delight, as they went west and beat the Rams 27-20. And they face an undefeated Oakland team that has Las Vegas sportsbooks collectively holding their breath right now because there's a lot of Super Bowl money on the Oakland Raiders, and they are off to a great start, Jim.
They're off to a great start, and I give them all the credit in the world, but they are in a tough division.
Oh, that's good. Outside of the Chargers 0-2, everybody else is 2-0.
Right. And the Chargers were in a position to possibly win both of those games. I don't know if Oakland's defense is all the way back to where it needs to be to play with these guys because the Chiefs and the Broncos are tough. So this is going to be tough for them. And this is their second trip to the East Coast. Now, I know people are going to say, well, they know how to do this because last year they went to the East Coast
5 times.
5 times, and they did fantastic.
Yep.
So they're going to do fantastic again here. They're road favorite at Washington. This is not an easy situation. And I'm not going to have my money on them.
Well, this is going to be a pros versus Joes game. There's no question about that. The square bettors are going to be on the Oakland Raiders. The sharp bettors are going to be more on the Redskins. Before you jump and say, well, pros versus Joes, the pros have been getting smashed by the Joes going back to last season. Second half of last season, the public bettors had a freaking party in the NFL. They made a lot of money. It was not great for the sports books. They just kept getting inundated with New England action and all the big favorites. And they just kept winning and winning and winning. It's starting off that way again this season. And I'm one who looks at this stuff, and I've always put myself in a position where I'd rather be with the sharps than the squares. Having a bookmaking background, if you want to call it that, you generally are better off not being with the public. But that's changed in the NFL the last couple of years. And I don't know that I think the Joes get a little too hung up on the pros get a little too hung up on taking what looks like pro sides and avoiding the obvious. The obvious has been getting there. I think it could again here. I'm probably not going to play this game, but I'm not going against the Raiders in this spot, and I'm not really giving the Redskins a whole lot of credit for their win last week. I thought that Goff completely regressed. He looked like he was a rookie all over again. He was awful in that game for the Rams, and Kirk Cousins still hasn't really found a stride for the Redskins. They did enough to win the football game last week, but it wasn't what I call a great performance.
I agree with everything you said. With one, I want to go back and add to what are the worst organizations, what are the worst teams, what are the teams that underperform more often than not. Half the league is underperforming, and they did last year too. So what that creates is you have these good teams, or even better than good teams. I don't know that we've had a great team in the NFL for a while, but let's say the
I think the Patriots would qualify.
Well, okay.
I mean,
it's
the best franchise in sports.
Over a period of time, but not last year necessarily. I don't think they were the best team in football last year.
No, but
I thought they beat the best team in football last year in the Super Bowl.
But you know what? That's why they're the best team, because they find a way to come out on top even when they're not the best team.
Okay, we can regress to this past week. We all know that the Patriots have issues. They've lost some players, key players. Brady's 40 years old. They don't want to get him banged up. So what does Belichick do? This is why he's such a great coach and a great staff. He comes out and he starts to use a fullback. I mean, hello, run the ball, play good defense, have a decent offensive line. Don't hang your quarterback up there at 6 seconds trying to look for a receiver downfield. Dump passes, backs out of the backfield, fullback runs. I mean, keep an extra guy in the block. Hello, this was written years ago. Woody Hayes, I'm not trying to bring back Woody Hayes, but that's smart football.
Well, there's more teams. I actually will give the league credit because we're seeing more teams get back to a ground and pound.
Well, they have to.
It's always been the way to win football. I'm sorry, and I understand the copycat stuff that exists in college and pro football, but 3 yards in a cloud of dust might not win, but 4 yards in a cloud of dust on a regular basis, you know what that means? First downs, it means you keep the football, you keep your defense off the field, and you win football games. There's never changed. For all the fancy stuff that's out there and these wide open offense and the gimmicks and the hurry up, if you go back and look at stats at the end of the game and you see that one team outrushed the other by a margin of 2-1 or better, they win the game almost all the time.
That's right.
It's like 90%, okay? I'm not talking point spread, obviously. That's something different entirely. But it's like 85 to 90%, a team that outrushes its opponent by a margin of 2-1 or better. They win the game almost all the time. To me, it just drives me nuts that the teams have gotten away from this.
And me as well. You know, last year, or a couple of years ago, Denver won the Super Bowl. They had a quarterback with the lowest rating in all of football. His name was Peyton Manning. But he was smart. He knew how to dump it off.
And the other quarterback was a guy who can't even play third string in the NFL.
That's right. That's right. What did they do well? They had a great defense, and they ran the ball, and they protected Manning. He wasn't hanging back there trying to look for 30, 40-yard passes down. He was dumping. He was handing off. Trent Dilfer years ago, when he was never a great quarterback.
He was a manager.
He was a manager. But they won the Super Bowl.
He was damn good at it, too.
Damn good. But what did they have? Great defense, great offensive line, ran the ball. All this stuff, the flash and dash and all that stuff, and that's great. Maybe it sells tickets, maybe it's a more interesting game, but it's not great football. You pick the team that has that good offensive line, runs the ball, manages the game, doesn't turn it over, and forget the 40-yarders. That's great when you get them. And when you bring those linebackers up, they're open. So you got to get back to basics, guys.
All right, let's see what Jeff Saad at Las Vegas Sports Service thinks about this game. Jeff, take it away.
A long road trip for Oakland to the East Coast. The Raiders have one of the most talented offenses in the league again, scoring 26 and 45 points in 2 games. Derek Carr has 5 TDs, no picks, and is completing 75% of his throws. Oakland is 19-6-1 over the total after a victory and 36-13-2 over after a spread cover. Washington got its offense scoring last week, scoring 27 points, and is on a 20-7 run over the total. They've also gone over in 8 of 11 home games. Both teams will score these 30 points to play the Raiders and the Redskins to go over the total. Las Vegas Sports Services has a special this week, 7 days of service in all sports. That's plays every day for just $19. And that will include a $500 blockbuster release going this weekend on the gridiron. That's guaranteed, or the rest of September is free. Just call 866-546-9467. Back to you guys.
Okay, thanks, Jeff. When we come back, we will have some more observations to run through to get you prepared for the weekend.